Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Daffy's Roundtable. Yes, I'm on the road, so we're back to car intros. But anyway, on this episode, I'm joined by master breeder Dominic from Dom's Reptiles. We talk all things carpet pythons, and then Dom breaks down the different species, different locales, different morphs in the Morelia world. Dom also gives us a behind-the-scenes look at how he sets up and manages his animals, including quarantine setups, nidovirus protocols, and how he handles common issues like mites without compromising the health of his snakes. We also talk about preparing snakes for breeding season, the importance of brumation, and Dom's breeding strategies. If you're a Morelia keeper, you need to listen to this episode and learn from the master breeder, Dom himself. But before we do that, allow me to thank Exoterra for sponsoring this podcast and making this episode possible. Exoterra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or any of the other streaming platforms, please give us a follow. It really helps out the podcast and I really appreciate it. Okay, without further ado, everybody please help me welcome Dominic of Dom's Reptiles. Dom, hello.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you very much for coming on.
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the invite.
Of course. So just a little backstory for people that don't know. I got my first snake like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a carpet python. And for those of you that listen to the podcast a lot, you know Taz. It's my first snake. It's my baby. It's more of a pet to me than, all the snakes are obviously pets, but sometimes you get a snake and you're like, this is specifically for a project or whatever. But when I got Taz, I just wanted one snake, and I had him for a long time before I got any other snakes, and he's awesome and I love him. And what most of you don't know is that I actually got him from Dom. So you actually were the person I got my first snake from ever. And conveniently, you live not too far from me too, which is really cool. But we didn't actually end up connecting till very recently again. So I'm very excited to be talking to you. All this to say, I'm very excited to be talking to you, man. I have a lot of questions.
Hey, I'll take them all. I think it's kind of cool, actually, because I'll be honest, I had no idea, right? Like 5 years ago, what animal did I sell to who? Like, and some people just reach out to me like, hey, I'm looking for this. Like, yeah, perfect. And then it's sold, it's gone, I never hear from them, right?
You never hear from them.
I think you were one of those stories.
For sure. But, 100%. I've sold lots of animals and no idea where they are, but every now and then someone will reach out and be like, hey, this is the animal. I'm like, thank you, because I want to see what it looks like 3-4 years later, you know? So, yeah, he's doing great, by the way.
Sure. And I imagine it's a jungle?
It is a jungle, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to guess and say it's a Favelle line, probably from my big girl that was breeding back then, if I had to guess and say.
Correct.
All
so
right.
I actually, funny enough, pulled up our old chat to have kind of the options that you send me and what it is, but that's exactly the Favelle line, and you had a couple of different options then, and I actually resexed him recently, and it is a male, but I don't know how early you're able to sex them, but you were like, I'm pretty sure this is a male, and I was like, yeah, I wanted to stay smaller. I was young and had no idea what I was doing, so but so it was really cool. Yeah, nice. You gave me a lot of good information, and anyway, very excited to be talking to you about all that, man. But so since you already kind of brought up it was a jungle, you kind of already knew that based on what you were breeding. What else are you currently breeding or working with? Is it just Morelia, or do you have other things going?
I've got a couple of things that I guess would fall outside of Morelia, but I'll start with Morelia just to get that out. So obviously jungles. I do have a pretty large amount of jungles now, like probably around adults that are breeding. I think I'm at about 2.4 maybe. And I've got awesome. German line jungles, Favelle line jungles. I've got zebras, ocelots. I've got super zebras. Actually, this year is the first time I'm going to try to breed super zebra to super zebra, purely to see how bad of a disaster clutch it's going to be. I'm more curious than anything. So I've got the jungles, then I've got coastals. I've got some... to me, the coastals is probably the coolest shit that I got that is carpet-wise. Awesome. I've got, actually one of my snakes is in the More Complete Carpet Python by Nick Mutton, which is kind of cool. That's Super awesome. Caramel Exanthic Coastal. It's kind of cool when somebody like that reaches out to you and says, I need that because I don't have it and I need a picture of it. And you're like, I got it. So he's been my main breeder. I've got a couple of hypos. I've got hypo caramel tigers. I've got super hypos. I've got xanthic. I've got a little bit of everything. Other carpets, I've got inlands. I now have a 1.2 inlands that I'll breed this year. All different lines. I've got no Bredleys. All my Bredleys I ended up shipping to Shan, and he's the one breeding those, Shan Valenson, which is close to you as well. I'm sure you know him. Darwins, I don't have any true pure Darwins, only because there's none in Canada, even though people tell you they're pure. They're not. Only because nobody's taken the time to import them. So there is no, mine aren't pure. And I'm working a lot on the albino granite morph for those. And then Popwins, I've got a nice collection of Popwins, but basically I'm always going for the marble with those, which is the xanthic granite. Produced them a few times in the past few years, and now I'm up to a 1.2 marbles that should not breed this year, but will be ready to breed visual to visual by next year. So those should be pretty cool. So that's carpet wise. I've got a trio of rough scale pythons. They're 2021. I am planning on breeding them this year. They're huge. They're 6+ feet, gigantic. So hopefully that'll go. That would be really cool. That'll be the first time trying this year. I've also got a pair of diamond pythons, which again, for the first time, will be ready this year. Male is, let me just check the tag. RBZ, so Riverbank Zoo, and female is a reduced pattern. I think they're ready. They're 4 years old, which is kind of like on the young side, but technically I can try. Female doesn't really have that large head yet, so I'm assuming it's going to fail this year purely because of what she looks like. But she's 6 feet, she's big. I think she could do it, but we'll see. Except for that, I've got some Antaresia. Got a trio of pygmy pythons, which both of them breed every year. What else do I have? Woma pythons. I only have one male and keep getting other females that turn out to be male. Keep getting rid of the second male. This has been the 4th time in a row now that I grow up females that turn out to be males. So I only have a lone male. Still looking for a female. Yeah, I think that's about it. I was supposed to get green tree python. Put a lot of money into green tree python. That flopped. Completely flopped. Got, for the first time ever in my life, got screwed over. And that one hurt. And I won't say the name on the podcast because it's not necessary. But that one sucked. Yeah. And yeah, so that's kind of my collection. It's not that big. Like, my room isn't that huge. I've got maybe a 15-foot by 15-foot room. That's about it. All my animals are in here. Everything breeds. Everything's only in here. And I can't have it out of the room. Wife will not accept anything reptile out of this room. So it's my little hideout.
At least you have a room, right?
Yeah, that was the deal. One room, but I can't get out of it.
But you're fitting all that in one room, which is awesome. And from what it looks like behind you, like they're in enclosures, not in a rack. I mean, maybe you have a rack somewhere else, but they're in enclosures for the most part.
So every single thing is in an enclosure with a front-facing PVC or whatever acrylic or plexiglass front. So everything is in there, except one thing, which would be my baby rack, which, one second, see if I can do this without, I don't know if you can see it. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Probably not the smartest thing to move the computer, but... so I've got one baby rack that's 96 spots or something like that. And wow. Then I've got different size cages, like on the other wall that you don't see that's behind me. I've got like 4 foot by 2 cages, but are cut in 5. So basically it's like a rack, but every single baby's got a, like, I don't know, 2 foot deep, 1.5 foot high by only about 8 inches wide, right? But it's essentially like a cage that works as a rack because they're all put in there, but they have a lot more room. They have climbing space, and I put like...
You raise your juveniles in there?
Yeah, pretty much everything 1 year to 2 years old. Are you doing on YouTube or are you doing just voice?
Both. I do put it on YouTube as well, yes, yeah.
So I'll just show you one thing. So basically I put everything on. I'm just going to take one out. I don't think there's a snake in this one.
Yeah.
So I put on those cages, everything has this in it. So it's
Cool.
like, I don't know, there you go, maybe you can see it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I
it-
can also. I think you posted a picture of it. I can also
Yeah.
just pop the picture in there.
So basically, the idea is just to have all these long plastic PVC perches that use as much of the space as possible. Every cage I basically make as convenient to me as I can, but not exactly visually beautiful is the best way I can put it. So I used to have tons of branches and all the really cool thing and more the naturalistic, but you know how long it takes to clean each cage when you got to take out all the logs and everything?
Yeah.
Now all my cages are very similar. It's like the hide spots, the big hide is going to be usually a cement bin flipped over so that they can lie on top, they can lie under. There's going to be a water bowl, there's going to be a humidity hide. Then about 2 inches above those bins is going to be some type of perching, either PVC or branches that I've permanently attached, so that nothing, when I change the bins, when I change the paper under, when I change anything, nothing is touching the top. So everything is like separate. So it just means everything can be cleaned really fast and really easily. I'm all about efficiency. When you've got a good amount of animals, and I don't have that many, maybe like 50 or 60, excluding babies, like it's by doing these type of efficiencies, like I can clean my entire room in about an hour and a half.
Wow.
So which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, and are you using then like puppy pads or paper towels or something for substrate?
So paper, and again, not visually
yeah.
paper, but every cage is going to have a certain amount of cypress mulch. So like the humidity bin or the top hides will have cypress mulch in it, but the bottom will be paper, except the animals that require higher humidity. Like the rough scale pythons are full cypress mulch everywhere.
Okay.
So like it depends, but carpet pythons do amazing in pretty much anything. They're so adaptable that they do great on paper. I have humidity boxes, but honestly, they don't even need them.
Interesting. And you said you use cypress mulch. Is that the substrate you use?
Yep.
Interesting.
And it's really hard to find. And
Is it?
there's-
Okay.
So cypress mulch is the one. If you go to pet stores, they're going to sell the big bags, like the typical bags you'd buy any mulch for your garden, for about $45 a bag. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
super
It's a
expensive.
huge
Yeah,
ripoff.
absolutely.
But there is one garden center in Toronto that has it, that imports it. It is pure cypress mulch that is not stained, nothing like that. Cypress mulch is extremely safe for your animals. There's zero issues. And they're about $7 a bag. And you'll notice that when you
Wow.
go to the Reptile show, they all have the same brand because everybody knows the place. They go and buy pallets of it, and then they sell them back for $40 at the show. So,
Yeah.
but I can figure out the address. Me and Shan tend to go with this pickup, and once a year, every 2 years, we pick up a pallet or two, and then bring it all the way back, and then we have our cypress mulch for the next 2 years. So
Wow. Okay, because
But,
that's what I was gonna ask. Because I use the cocoa chips, like the stuff the ball python people use, and that stuff is expensive and getting
Yeah.
more expensive. And I mean, like the one of them only lasts like half my snakes for one round, and then, like I'm constantly buying it. So I need to look into this cypress mulch place. That's super interesting.
It's good. I'll give you the info after. So, are you using cocoa chip or the cocoa fiber that comes in a block that expands?
The chip, but it also comes in a block that expands.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
I've had questionable experiences with that. I find that it's too powdery, and
Okay.
I feed my snakes like the rodents in water to defrost to unthaw, and then once they're unthawed, I feed them wet. Right? I don't know if you do that too.
I do the same thing. Yes.
So my issue when I've used cocoa fiber wasn't cocoa husk or whatever it is, the chips. So it was the fiber, but I feel like the wetness, the fibers, all that little shit would get stuck on the rat. And then
On
as
the
they're
rat.
eating it, it starts to accumulate around the lips of the animals. And I've had animals that have sealed their mouth shut because of their saliva and the coconut, like, you know what I mean? Like that fine dust was enough to
Yes.
seal their mouth shut. And I've lost one woma because of it. So
Okay.
I'm being very careful. Just like, I don't know if you can picture what's happening there from the saliva, the animal being rolled in that dust. It eats it, it accumulates all around its lips, it closes its mouth, its saliva, and that thing causes like a glue and it shut its mouth shut.
That's crazy.
So,
Okay.
and I
yeah.
didn't
No.
notice it for like a week. I didn't notice it for a week. By then, the animal was not doing very well. So
Right,
I don't know.
makes sense.
Just a word of warning. I've had issues with it. I don't use it.
Yeah. I've started to have like I use it for all my snakes still, but in one of my little grow out bins, I sprayed it down, and I think it's maybe holding too much humidity, and so it's starting to like kind of smell, and I think like maybe like injuring the snake, like not, that's the wrong way to put it, like not scale rot, but almost. Anyway, I had to change it and put it on paper towels like immediately, so that may be another reason for it. Obviously, that bin has much higher humidity and it's all sealed off, so maybe in like drier environments, it works better. But that's very interesting. And what are the PVC cages behind you?
Honestly, almost all different brands. So I've got some Cornell's World, I've got some First Strike, I've got some from PVCcages.com, which is a terrible garbage company. Sorry. First Strike and Cornell's World's cages are amazing. Great quality, great builds. PVC cages, I think they're the flimsiest garbage. They warp. Even the heat pad under has made them warp and all that. And I've got a lot from, trying to think of what his name is, the guy in Toronto that had really good cages. That the name eludes me, but it's a company that did them for many years. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Are they still around?
No, they shut down about 7 or 8 years ago, but they made amazing cages. Once I figure it out, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but every single cage has been so heavily modified. Like there's, I changed the locks, I changed the hinges to plastic, I changed everything inside. I've added clean outs for pipes to be able to connect cages to the other with turning toilet drains. I don't know. Do you know what I mean by that? Or no?
Like on the bottom of them?
So here, one second. You see this? So have you ever seen this before? Okay, so every cage basically has, not every cage, but most cages have one at the bottom of the cage, one on top of the cages. You screw this on both sides so that if I wish to, I can open the two, and then the 4x2 becomes an 8x2. So then the animals can travel. Both. Exactly. So I used to use it a lot for breeding. To be honest, it wasn't as successful as I thought because it almost gave too much territory to the animals. So they bred less. So now the main reason I use that is when I have an extra cage, I just open it up and then one animal has a double cage until I refill it. You know what I mean? So
that's cool.
But it's cool. It's just a way of connecting all cages and having extra space or doubling their space when you want.
Yeah, and you drill that into most of your cages?
Almost every single cage is connected either to the side or to the bottom or the top. Some of them are connected all ways, so I could literally connect everything if I wanted to. And the towers stay together, right? I don't move them. They're not tied together, but all the holes are perfectly lined up. Like I basically drilled them when they were in there.
Right. So. Right. And okay, so on that kind of this is fascinating. On that same topic, they're all stacked. And you mentioned heat pad. Do you have heat pads in between them, or how else are you heating the enclosures?
So two things. So I don't know if you can see behind. So basically, the other things I modify on the cages is I've bought a lot of extra PVC sheets. And I don't know if you can tell between each cage. If you look really well, you'll see that there's a gap of about 1 centimeter. So yes. I cut strips of about 1 inch of PVC and I put them on every single cage, 3 strips down the front, the back, and in the middle. So then every single cage always has is 1 centimeter off of the other one. So the idea is that the heat pad heats up the cage, but it isn't squished between two and can actually breathe in between. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely, because they say you need airflow with the. Yeah.
So there's if you look at the side, you can literally see right through the cages under each of them. So every single cage is lifted by 1 centimeter underneath it. So that's something else I do. And I wish builders like cage makers would do that. Just put, 3 stripes of PVC down so that the next cage sits on it. But that's all things we have to do.
Exactly. I was gonna say I do the same. I use the PVC circles, and I just cut them up and put them give pucks. Them 4 legs essentially, like pucks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so are the heat pads the only way you're heating the enclosures?
So no. Well, it depends. It depends on what animal's in there, right? So every
Okay.
single cage has got a heat pad under. So, and by heat pad, I really mean heat tape. So, like
Oh,
if you
heat
look
tape.
at
Okay.
a 4x2, we'll have like a 12-inch heat tape from front to back only on one side. So a 12-inch by 24 piece on one side, and then the entire rest will have no heat, right?
Okay.
So this way you've got a nice gradient going from left to right and from the front of the back or the back of the cage as well. And then depending on the animals, if the animal's very arboreal and doesn't tend to live on the ground, for example, rough scale pythons, those ones I have radiant heat panels. So I'll have a
Okay.
radiant heat panel on either the same size as the heat pad, usually, and that one is just set to have a nice hot spot of 86 to 88 just underneath the perches that are permanently there. So,
Okay.
and like my rough scales, you never see them on the ground. They spend zero time on the ground. They're 100% in the branches all the time. So the heat pad honestly is a waste of. They don't use it, but it's
They never
there
use it.
because
Yeah.
before I had rough scales, I used only that. I don't love radiant heat panels. I find they're a lot harder to control. I find they warm up a lot more of the entire cage instead of just a spot. So I don't know. My suggestion is get the lowest wattage radiant heat panel you can get. Like on a 4x2, I've got the lowest, which is a 40 watt. And putting it on the Herpstat, I still turn it down to like max is 50% utility. Like using it, I don't know if you know what I mean, where you can
Yeah.
reduce the
Absolutely.
max power. So just because those things get really hot and you don't want it to cook everything in there. So they're great. They work. I just find it easier with floor heating, but for some animals it's better.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm glad you clarified between heat pad and heat. What did you call it? Heat tape.
Heat tape.
Yeah, because I'm having a lot of trouble with heat pads and they seem to keep blowing out on me, and so I've completely switched away from all of them now, and I'm using heat lamps. So all of my enclosures have like screen on top, and I'm using heat lamps. So what's your opinion on heat lamps? And do you not use them because it's PVC enclosures, so like you can't put the heat lamp there, or like what's your opinion on them?
So it depends. Are you using it for heat or are you using it for lighting?
So I have
Heat?
I have snakes in two rooms. One room is the whole room is heated, which I'll ask you on your opinion on that as well. And then one room, they're for heat. The heat lamps are used for
Okay.
heat. Yes.
So if you have room, you can work with it. If you don't have that much room, like in my case, everything being stacked all the way to the ceiling, if I was to put that, then I would have to have, let's say, like a foot space in between to be able to put a heat lamp and then some kind of a stand. So to me, it's just a waste and it's not efficient.
Okay.
So I would not. That being said, a heat lamp or a radiant heat panel will do the same thing, right? They'll provide the heat. The advantage of the heat lamp is the heat lamp, you can choose to do heat and UVB as well. UVB,
Right.
UVA if you wanted to. So there's that advantage. I also find that heat lamps, usually because you have to have a screen mesh, you tend to have a cage that will be drier and you'll be fighting humidity a lot more. Compared if you do radiant heat panel, yes, it gives a lot of heat, but you're still a much more enclosed area. You don't have a big open mesh area, so you can keep humidity very easily. Like my rough scales have a radiant heat panel and I can make it 100% humidity, zero problems. Right? So it all depends on the animals you're using and what you're using it for. So do they work? Yes, but it's going to create a drier environment, so you're going to be fighting that all the time. It takes up a lot more room on top, but it gives you the option of changing bulbs. It gives you the option of putting UVA, UVB. It has its advantage.
Yeah.
I used to do it like a long, long time ago, but I've moved away from them just because I don't find it efficient. Let's just put it that way. But it works.
Yeah.
It 100% works, and you can 100% work with it. And you were
Yeah.
talking about the heat pads. I don't use the heat pads from the store for one reason. They're freaking expensive, like $50-$60 for a heat pad. When you can buy heat tape will be $4 a foot to $8 a foot if you take the 12-inch. And I mean, I can make like 40 heat pads with that, and you can just go buy extension cord and build them yourself. So you end up being able to build a heat pad that's, I don't know, let's say 12 inches by 24 for under $10. Well, $10 to $12 each, right? So it's much cheaper, and they're flat instead of the thick rubberized thing. Like to me, it just works better, and they're reusable. The other one is like you stick it on, it on, it's stuck there, right? So, I honestly, I don't really have anything that's bought in a pet store anymore. Almost everything is kind of like from Home Depot or stuff like that, right? In time, you learn that it's a lot cheaper everywhere else than the actual pet store.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And does the heat tape last for you? Like, do you find yourself having to replace it frequently, or has that not been an issue?
So everybody says to replace them every 2 years. I'll be honest, I recheck my connections every now and then. I have replaced probably about 3 or 4 heat pads in the past 10 years. That's about it. So, and
okay.
like the heat pad is fine. It's usually the connections that go, and that's what causes. So as long as you check them every now and then, but all my heat pads stick out about an inch past the cages on the outside, so you can visually see everything on the outside of the cage. And if there's a problem with it, I simply discontinue it. I tend to even just cut a centimeter off the heat tape and just connect it further up, redo the connection, and then you're good again for a long time. That's the way I do it. Again, they say to change it every 2 years. I've never done it, but I guess if my place goes up in flames, I'll know why.
Yeah. No, hopefully not. That's like my worst nightmare, man. Scariest thing ever. It's funny, my dad came to visit and he like walked around the reptile room and I was like, he's gonna say the reptiles are cool, and the only thing he said was, that's a fire hazard, that's a fire. I was like, okay, get out of here, like this is it's not what I want you to see or hear.
I think everybody says that. Like, you look, the amount of extension cords, the amount of things we have is ridiculous, and I've tried to change that. Like, when I moved into this house, before moving in, I added 2 extra lines to 110 volt, and I have a 110 volt with only 2 plugs that I use purely for the heater. And then 2 walls are on one plug, 2 walls are another, on a breaker, I mean. So that, and I have an electricity plug every 3 feet on the walls. That's awesome. Everywhere. So I just redid it all, and I was like, this way but even with that, I still have fucking extension cords everywhere. Sorry, I swore. Am I allowed to swear in the podcast?
You're all good. Yeah.
So even with that, it's still a fire hazard, man. You can't avoid it. Look at the amount of electronics we have running everywhere, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would be cool to kind of... so that kind of brings back the heating of the room. So the one room where I don't have cables and extension cords running everywhere is just one space heater heating up the entire room. What's your opinion on that? Because that's obviously taking away them having a gradient and being able to move into different temperatures, because it's kind of just stable everywhere. So yeah, what do you think of
that? So I'll first of all say I've never done ambient heating. Okay. So I'll speak as to what works for me and why I wouldn't do it. But 100% it works, and many people do it, and many people have success. The only thing is, if I was to change to ambient heating, I'd only be doing it to save money, right? Because you wouldn't need to put heat in every single cages and all that. It would be technically easier and all that. But then every single one of my animals is used to not ambient heating. I'd be basically resetting my entire collection for 3, 4, or 5 years. I bet you everything would destroy my whole cycle. So I'll never, ever do that. But I know a lot of people do it. And a lot of people do it purely because it's cost effective, right? Now, is it the best for the animals? In my opinion, it's not, because you remove the choice of the animals to either go on heat or get away from heat. You're giving them an average temperature, which works well enough for them to do everything. Now, in my opinion, you should strive for better than well enough, right? Like, do you get what I mean by 100%. Well enough?
Absolutely, yeah. They're surviving, they're not thriving or whatever. So
is it really thriving to give them a gradient? I don't know, but I can tell you in nature, it's not one temperature. In nature, you can have a 25-degree temperature swing from in the tree to in the sun to under a burrow, right? So to me, that's more the natural thing. So I wouldn't do it, but it works. A lot of people have great success with it. A lot of people breed and all that. And if you've only been doing that forever, your animals will cycle, will get used to it, and will definitely work. Like, it does work. I just don't use it. So I do have ambient heating in my room. Like, I have one space heater, but it's set to, 76 at night and 79 during the day, right? And with all the heat everywhere, it barely ever goes off. It goes off like 5 minutes per hour, basically, just to bring it up a tad, and that's about it.
Okay, here, hold on. You're Canadian and you still use Fahrenheit. That's great. Well, I guess in the animal world. Okay, 24. That's what I have my house set to as well.
Okay, I am
just
Canadian.
the entire, like, yeah.
I use Celsius for everything except when it comes to reptiles, because I got tired of trying to freaking like. I'm like, what's 88? And like, I'm trying to figure out, and like, I never could do it. And eventually I just switched everything to Fahrenheit. So everything is Fahrenheit, even though, you know, if I go outside, it's, you know, it was like freaking 8 outside, right? Like that's...
It's horrible. Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah. The temperature sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. We're done. It's the fun time of the year is over. We're screwed for the rest of it.
Yeah. Has its advantage, man. It means breeding season's coming. That's always a good thing.
So, okay, that's the perfect transition. So you mentioned cycle earlier, and now, let's kind of get into that. So how do you breed everything around the same time of year? Do you have a cooling process? How does it work in your reptile room?
Sure. So this is how I breed my pythons, which honestly works for a lot of pythons, a lot of species that do this type of recipe. So I can kind of give it to you. So for example, I kind of go with the holidays, which a lot of people have probably heard before. So Halloween is the last time I feed. So I fed actually on Tuesday because it just worked out for me after I left for the weekend. I gave one large meal and then that's it. So right now, everything is still the same. It's going to be hot spots at 86 to 88 during the day, cool it down to 2 degrees during the night. Ambient is 79 during the day, 76 at night. This is year-round, always like this, except during cooling season. So year-round, these are my temperatures. So then, come Halloween, I feed one last time. Anywhere around there, really doesn't matter. Could be a week or two ahead or after. I tend to do more after now because our colder season tends to come a little later.
Lasts longer.
It comes longer. It comes after, right? Like, think about it. It used to always snow on Halloween. Doesn't really snow on Halloween anymore now. Right. So I stop feeding. Then I wait a month. This is the month right now. I've started my 1 month clock where everything still stays the same all year round, but I let all the animals empty out. Right? So I wait a month. So I'd say by in a month time, which I think comes to like American Thanksgiving, but that doesn't really work for us. So usually like start of December, then I'll start cooling. And what I mean by cooling is it's really important with pythons. The day temps stay the same all year round. So during the day, it's always 86 to 88 hotspot. The room ambient temperature is always 79. So the daytime never changes all year round. Cooling means cooling at night only. So the difference is at night, then I'll start dropping 2 degrees every single week. So like, let's say the first week of December, instead of being 76 at night, it'll be 74. Second week of November, it'll be 72. Next week, it'll be
December,
70. Sorry, November. And then I'll keep going down 2 degrees. So, and I cool down not only the ambient temperature, I cool down their hot spots too. So, again, the day will go back to 88 and 79. But next week at night, it'll be, instead of 79, it'll be like 77 or 76. I got to bring down the hot spots faster because I got a lot lower to go with them. So maybe I'll do 3 degrees. And then every week it'll go down. So usually by like mid-December, I'm now down to like hot spots of 77 or something like that. And my temperature in the room might be 68, 66 at that point, right? And then I'll go down to as low as I can, which is usually 64 or 66 in my room. Even if I lower it lower than that, I can't get my room lower than that. So that's about how low I go. And then I kind of keep it there for about 3 to 4 weeks.
So now that's into like mid-January you're keeping it there?
I'd say no, I'm in December. Like I'm around Christmas. Around Christmas, I've reached that area. And Christmas is usually when I start to pair. So again, I keep having to say it back just because some people don't always do that. But daytime highs are always normal all year round. Okay. So... and the reason for that is because if you kept a python at 66, especially an equatorial python or animals that require heat, you're going to have issues. Okay, so you always by warming it back up, you're fine. So this is for winter breeders, and I can explain. Spring breeders is the same thing, but it just goes longer. So winter breeders here, I start pairing. Okay, and that means usually I'll put the male in the female's cages, and I'll leave them there for a week or two, and if there's no activity, I'll separate them. for 2 or 3 days, and then I'll put him back and keep going and keep going. And if I've got one male that's with two females, or that has two females to breed that year, I'm going to put the trio together. And he'll do his job with whichever female is interested at that moment. And then next week he might switch to the other ones. It's I've had a lot more success by putting them all together and leaving that. So, and again, not feeding that entire time. So as of Halloween, nothing eats.
Okay.
So then, yeah, go.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so nothing eats until like much further, until the temperatures are back up. I don't feed. So right now we're still low at night. And then, so here's where spring and winter breeders differ. So the winter breeders are all the carpet pythons. The spring breeders will be the colder temperature animals. So like your inland pythons, your Brettles pythons, your diamond pythons. The only difference with them is that instead of stopping at 64, every week you go down to 62. Next week you go down to 60. Next week you go down to 58.
You keep going.
56, 54, 52, 50, and a couple of nice cold nights in the mid 40s. You do 3 or 4 really cold nights in the 40s, and then you start bringing it back up. But then you bring it back up all the way back to your normal temperatures. So the reason they're called spring breeders is just that they take an extra month and a half to get to their low temperatures. So because of that, you don't pair them a month and a half later than everybody else. And then warming them back up also takes a lot longer. So after that, I start warming up 2 degrees every week. And slowly until I get back to my 79 during the day and 86, 88 for hot spots. So that will usually take me into January. So like end of January is usually when the temperatures are back up. By then, animals have been pairing up. Animals have been locking continuously. And now you start to notice some swelling. You start to notice some ovulations and such. And and I mean, you keep pairing until you've got eggs on the ground. So when you notice an ovulation, nice big fat plumpy girl that becomes big as a football overnight, and then it disappears the next day, then you wait till they're shed. Girl sheds, you're usually looking at 21 to 28 days for the shed. Once she does shed, then you can count the days to, not 20 days. Once she sheds, it's 21 to 28 days for egg laying. And you kind of go from there. And that's kind of my breeding season. I don't feed until March, sometimes April. Those girls, so girls and boys, I don't feed at all. Some people believe that feeding the pythons will encourage them to breed. The idea behind it is that the female eats and now food is plentiful. It's a good time to have kids. Sure, I've had zero success with it. I found that it made no difference. So to me, it doesn't really do anything. The only other thing that I'd say is also everything is light cycled. So every single light in the room is on a timer, except when I'm podcasting. Now my lights are on, but every cage is off. So it's all on a timer that's, what's the term? Astronomical, which is basically a timer that goes, you put it in your time zone, and it turns on and off with the sunsets. So all the cages are turning on and off, and the days are going from 12-hour days to 8-hour days during the winter. So right now they're slowly, every day they're like a minute, the lights are turning off a minute earlier, and it's slowly, and I've been doing that for the entire life of all the snakes, and my entire room is cycled. I don't care how old the snakes are. Okay, with one exception. Everything is cycled. So even a 1-year-old snake doesn't eat for 4 to 5 months in my room.
Oh, really? Okay.
I cut everything off except the babies that were just born that are about 5 months old right now. So the 5-month-old babies, I'll keep their hotspot of 86 to 88, but their ambient will go down.
All day, all night.
All day, all night, but their ambient will go down to 60. Okay. Right? Like when it's 64, it's still 64 in there, but they still have their hotspot. And I feed them throughout the whole thing. But as soon as after their first birthday, then they get out of those 6 square bins. And at that point, nothing eats. Like my entire collection, except for the little babies, nothing eats for about 5 to 6 months. It's amazing. Cage cleaning is amazing. Work is amazing. It's so easy.
Convenient.
Oh, it's convenient and it's healthy for the animals, man. Not feeding your snakes for a while really healthy. You want your animals to live for a long time? Like,
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but like, stop feeding them. If
Starve them, they'll live longer.
it sounds bizarre, but animals stop eating. Animals don't eat all the time. You shouldn't have their digestive system going all the time. Again, I'm talking about pythons, right? Don't do this with like a garter snake, or don't do this with
Right.
for my collection, it will make them live a lot longer.
Okay.
So
I have so many questions. Okay, so first of all, you said light cycles. So are there LED bars or something inside the cages that are lighting them up?
yeah, so every single cage I've got just a small little LED light bar.
Okay.
Basically, like if you go to Home Depot, you can buy just like an 18-inch long LED strip for like putting under your cabinets for lighting, like in your kitchen, right? So they're about like $20 each, and the advantage is they don't emit any heat. You can touch them. You don't need to protect them, right? I literally take like 3M tape like this, double-sided tape. Underneath it, you stick it right on top, and it doesn't matter. The snake can push on it, can touch it, and zero issues.
Nothing
So
happens.
they're like 13 watts each. You know what I mean? Like, so it's efficient, doesn't use too much electricity, and it gives the light. Could I not do it? Probably. I could have lights in the room light up and just be like this, but I prefer it in every cage, and also by having it in every cage, it's pretty to look at, right? Like you can visually see inside every cage perfectly. But
Absolutely.
it's a lot of wires in the background, because that means just for lights, I've got 50 wires coming out of cages just for lights.
That's crazy, yeah. But then again, it helps with the light cycling of the snakes as well, right? So then the follow-up question to that is, being where you are right now, it's not even that bad yet, but right now the sun is setting at like 5:15, 5:30. So is it more difficult for you to kind of be in there at the moment and do work because the sun sets so early?
No, because if I need to work, I'm still going to do it. Like, I'll still turn on
Even
the
if it's
lights.
dark?
Like every Sunday for our podcasts, I podcast from 8 to 11 o'clock at night, and it's in this room, and it's with the lights on. But like, I don't know if you can see, the cages are still black in the background, right? Like,
Yes.
is it disturbance?
It's dark
Yes. One could argue that some nights are pretty bright when there's moons and all that kind of stuff. So does it make a difference? I mean, I try to keep it stable, but yeah, I clean my rooms mainly during the day or right after work. I finish work at 3, so I tend to always be in the room from 3 to 5. So it's usually before, but the podcasting is completely ruining that. So if I have a bad year this year, it's because of that, and you found
It's
out.
because of the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll blame Michael. There we go.
I like it. I'm
That's-
okay with that one.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. Your room is so much more controlled than mine. So my lights go on at noon and they turn off like at midnight, and I usually am in the reptile room later in the night, and so it's like it's very interesting how controlled you have every single cage and every single aspect of the cooling and the breeding, and then so once all that happens, are you pairing the male? You said I keep pairing them. Are you pairing the male and then removing them and then putting them back in, or is once they're in, the males are in until you see eggs?
So I put the male in with, let's say, either his female or his 2 females, and then I let him go. I'll wait. If in a week he does nothing, I'll separate him for 2 days. And then I'll put him right back in. And then I'll keep doing that purely because I don't know why. You take an animal out for a day or 2, you put him back in, it's like, oh my God, I've never seen these girls before, right? And then all of a sudden, sometimes that trigger works. I don't know why, but if there's nothing happening for a week, yes, I'll separate. But if they're locking up and breeding, sometimes they'll stay together for a month. And they'll be locking up every day or every second day, and they're always locking up. I'm not going to separate them. I'll just keep letting them go until I eventually see an ovulation. If I miss the ovulation, then I'll just leave the male in there. Even though I can see that she's like, sometimes they're obviously gravid, you know, unless they're fully inverted and like looking like an oversized balloon, maybe I'll take out the males. But if I'm not 100% sure, I'll just leave the male in there. And I've had a female being locked up to a male and lay eggs the next day. Like, I've seen that happen. So, I mean, some males just breed. Like, I've got 1 or 2 males that breed anything all the time. They don't care. So and I can guarantee that female was not receptive, but I mean, so.
You still want to, yeah, that's and is there a worry that like you do miss an ovulate or that they lock, but it's not, do they have to lock while the female is ovulating?
No. So usually they have to lock before the ovulation.
Okay.
Right? So the idea is that when a snake ovulates, it releases the follicles down the oviduct, and at that point it's too late. So if it wasn't fertilized prior to the ovulation, then after the ovulation is there, from my understanding, you can't fertilize the eggs anymore. So it needs to be done before. So a lot of people will see breeding, and if they ovulate that night, you're good. Like chances are that worked. On the same token, breeding for an entire month and then they don't breed and she ovulates a month after, it might be good, it might not be. And with Morelia, it's been shown that they can retain sperm for up to a year, but most times they don't. Most times they don't. Like I've had some that have paired up for a month, then stopped breeding, and she ovulated a month and a half later, and 90% of the clutch was slugs. Right? So
90%.
Yeah, we're slugs. So
there was like 10% that did hatch.
Yeah, there was some fertile, just like I've had one female, that exact female that you have a baby from. I've tried to give her a year off because she breeds every year like clockwork, and she's now bred 7 years in a row, which is insane for a python. One of the years, after 3 years, I did not pair her. I kept her separately, never paired her to a male. And she produced a clutch that year because she cycled and wanted to produce. And she laid, I think, 28 eggs. Out of the 28 eggs, 3 were fertile. And she had never been with a male until 14 months prior the year before. That's crazy. Those 3 eggs hatched. Crazy. And at first I was wondering if it was parthenogenesis, or if it was a fertile baby. And one of the 3 babies was a zebra. She's a normal. And she was paired up to a zebra the year before. So meaning that the male, she was fertilized by a male and they were not parthenogenesis. Which to me proved that, well, a jungle carpet python can retain sperm for up to 14 months at least. So, which was kind of cool. But some animals, man, like if they're plumpy and they're ready and they want to go, it's a lot safer to lay fertile eggs than to lay slugs. And because of that female, I breed every year because she goes every year. And I'm at 7 years in a row with that female, which is, I don't know. It's insane. Like a lot of people will tell you can have like, if a female breeds for you 1 year, you're good. 2 years, you're lucky. 3 years is an amazing girl. And some girls just keep going and keep going. But,
so my boy Taz has good genetics.
Oh, maybe. Is he aggressive? Because his mom's a bitch.
No, he's a sweetheart. He's
really?
He's caged. I guess caged. When he smells rats in the room, he's ready to go. Like he's up and he's looking around and he's by the window and he's ready to go. But the second I like go in with a hook and like touch him with a hook, and he immediately makes the association of like I'm not being fed. It like he'll climb right out on me. He's a sweetheart, but he's also, I've had him longer than I've had all my other snakes, so he was that snake that I was holding all the time and always pulling out, and so he's very used to being around humans. The others, not so much. I have a few mean ones in here for sure. That's very interesting. And then obviously the clutches are laid. Do you, with having that many pairs, are you trying to stack them, or whenever they come, whenever they come?
They whenever they come. And I probably could tell you exactly when I'm going to have them, because each female has them to like the day next year, or like a few days before, a few days after. It's incredible. Like I can pinpoint exactly when they were going to lay, because every time I use an app that just like scans and I just write when they've laid and when they've had their shed. And when I compare it year to year to year, the females that have had multiple clutches, they're all to the day or a day before, a day after. It's incredible. It's like clockwork. They're like, so I could probably figure out when they're going to lay. But I mean, when the clutches lay, I steal them from mom. I put them in the incubator and it goes from there. My incubators is behind me. Let me turn it around there. Nice
We
big
need to get you
fridge.
a Daffy's Reptiles sticker for that.
You know what? Give it to me. I'll put it on. I've got a couple of. Every time I go to the show, I steal stickers and I stick it on there. So
I can see a couple of names I recognize. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I'll send you some for sure.
If you want to advertise, it'll be there for every show.
Put it on that side so that it's. I'll get a bigger one for no.
Okay.
I'll
put
give you
the other
stickers
side.
for sure.
Can I get
And
the
then it
other
won't
corner?
show.
There you go.
Now everyone's being advertised. There we go. Yeah. There's a couple of NBK ones in there, man. Brian's a dope dude. I don't know if you know more. Yeah, okay,
he's a good guy. He actually helped me out for a lot of questions when it came to importing and exporting. He's good shit. I've known him for a very, very long time.
You've well, I guess most of your lines are imported from the US, right?
Not the US, actually. Importing from the US is next to impossible, if not impossible. So the problem is all Australian animals are CITES Appendix 2. And Appendix 2, you can bring them in, you can bring them out as well. And you can do that pretty much anywhere in the world except the US. The US is its own special thing, and you'll notice that every time you see somebody post, whether it be, I'll use names there, Reptile Express, or whether it be the Northern Lights or whatever her name is, and all those they always do, I'm importing non-CITES animals or exporting non-CITES animals. You'll always see those words because that's easy to do. As soon as you have CITES animals, it's very different. You need the permits, and permits aren't cheap. They're easy to get. They're not a huge deal, but to the US, they put blocks and stops for no reason. They kind of do whatever they want. So I've imported a few times from Europe to get animals, and the two main providers over there are UK Python and Star Pythons, which both have pretty extensive collections, and they can get everything here. And I've exported mostly to Japan. So I tend to sell, I'd say, 80 to 90% of all my animals to Japan. So there's a good market there, and the market in Canada is not big enough. So I could saturate the entire market in 1 year very easily. So send them all there.
I was gonna.
Sorry, go.
I was gonna ask you this because I was gonna ask you this because obviously I go to the shows a lot, and I'll walk through the shows and I see everything from some of the more common ball pythons to a lot of different, but Morelia are almost never around. And so I was going to ask you if you have a hard time selling them because there's not much of a market for them here, but I guess you're shipping them to Japan. That's cool.
So I produced about 107 babies from 2025. I have 6 left for sale. So it gives you an idea.
And the rest of them all went to Japan?
Well, they all went. Not all to Japan, but most of them did go to Japan. I probably sell about 10 to 15 a year to just people like you, people that reach out to me. I want this, and I send it out, right? I sell about 10 to 15 a year max. So, which is still good. Like, there's still a market, but Shan sells 10 to 15. Don Patterson probably sells another 10 to 15 to people. But it's after all my discussions with Don, and he told me, he's like, this is what I do. And he told me, hey, he gave me some pointers, and then I did it all myself, and he does the same thing. He exports 90% of all his animals out. So, and it's just a way of making sure that, that we still have a market here. Like, if you were to say, I don't know, an inland python used to be worth $1,000 here. There was none. I paid $1,000 for my first 2, and I finally produced them last year. And then UK Python saw that now there were some in Canada, and he dropped his price to $400. So now all of a sudden the price is now $400, and I'm like, God damn it! But by the time you import them at $400 and all that, it's more like a $600 Canadian snake. But if I produce too many, there's only probably like 10 people in Canada that are going to want them because they look like a gray snake, right? They're a earth tone gray snake that looks bad on camera, but when you see in real life, it has this bluish tint, and they're gorgeous. But only so many people will want them. But if I was to produce 50, what do I do with them? I'll never sell them. So, you got to be smart, and you got to figure out if you're going to breed them, why are you breeding them, and do you have a way to move them? And that was my solution. Also, I hate selling to people. It's a pain in the ass. It's so much work. I'd rather sell 30 snakes to one person at 50% of their value, and they're gone. Right? So I am definitely a very big wholesaler for that. And by wholesaling out of the country, I do not create a lot of competition and I do not oversaturate the market. So for me, it works great.
Yeah, that's awesome. What you mentioned you gave your Brettles to Shan. When was the last clutch you produced?
Of Brettles? Never produced them.
You never produced them.
No, I had a couple of females that I grew up for like 3 or 4 years. They were getting bigger, but like everything, you have to pick what you keep. And unlike Shan, his cages keep reproducing more cages, so he keeps having more snakes. And his collection is over twice mine now because it's ridiculous. So whenever I have no room and I need to move on a project, it just goes to Shan. I give it to him.
Okay.
So I moved all my Bredleys to Shan, which last year, or 2025, was the first year he reproduced. And he reproduced two clutches of Brettles Python. I think he's got genetic stripes and normal Brettles. So he produced some, which is really cool. And the spring breeders are tough for me to breed because I have a room that goes down to 64. So getting it down to 50 is a very difficult thing for me. And I know how to do it, but my wife is not okay with me drilling a 4-inch hole through the foundation to get cold to come into specific cages. So I'm still working on her, but let's just say it's been 2 years and I still can't drill a hole through the foundation, which she's not okay with, to be able to pull in cold air in cages. So this year for my diamond, basically what I'm going to do is when I get to that 64 degrees, I'm shipping my diamonds to Shan. He's going to bring them down to 50, keep them for a month and a half. When he starts bringing them back up, I'm bringing them back here. Then I'm going to start pairing and doing that. So I'm going to have to use his colder temperatures. And if you're thinking quarantine and like the risks, Shan and I have, our collection is so mixed and intertwined. Our animals go back and forth all the time to the point that whatever he has, I have. Whatever I have, he has. And we don't bring much outside unless we have to quarantine it, right? Like the green tree pythons, we had built cages and an extra room just for them. And we have a full quarantine for 12 green trees that never came in. But that would have been quarantine. But animals between us, we don't. So...
No, yeah, that makes sense. And we will touch on this in a second because I do want to ask you kind of about your quarantine measures and if you have any concern. But funny enough, I just got in 4 green trees. I'm sorry to, and I'm doing the same thing. They're in their own room and they're. Yeah. Well, they all came in. That's why I'm surprised. Well, we could talk about the whole import thing afterwards. But I guess you were not on the Northern Lights import. You were on another import.
I was on the same order coming in from. I know, long story. I'm not going to go too much in details and I'll say everything, but I know who the importer is, and I've talked to the exporter in Indonesia. Like when I said I got every single link of the line, unfortunately, the third party that I used that was going through Ben, the importer, which in your case would have been Northern Lights through. Anyway, this is when they were supposed to come in. The only problem is the person I paid imported a few animals before that and never paid the importer, and she owed so much money to that person that he ended up taking the deposit for my green trees, which she actually did give to the importer, but he used that money to pay the previous orders she never paid. So because of that, my money just disappeared, and then I'm shit out of luck because now there's no money on the order. So all the green trees that came in, they were supposed to be 12 for me. They're not coming. Not coming.
They're not coming.
I had 4 Cyclops, 4 Beox, and 4 Arfax. That was going to be the first time I was going to have wild-caught animals. First time I was going to do... Well, I've done green trees in the 90s, but I've never gone back into it. So I love green trees, but this has put a very sour taste in my mouth. But I'll try again. I'm going to try again later. I'm just going to... This time, I'm probably going to go through NBK, to be honest. I trust him. He's really good, so I'll probably go through him next.
That's awesome. Yeah, Brian's dope. I did end up getting 4 Beox.
How do they look?
And They look good. 3 of them have eaten so far. The fourth hasn't yet, but I'm not too concerned. It's only been like 2 weeks. But now there's like this like talk spreading of like it's very common for animals from Indonesia, specifically green tree pythons, to come in with nidovirus or crypto or whatever. And so now I don't know. I'm too scared to get them tested, but I feel like I have to. And yeah, do you know anything about? Is this? Because in my head,
I can talk a lot about it, and
okay, I should be really worried.
No, honestly, I'm not. I think.
Oh, you're not.
Nido's been in everybody's collections forever. It is not a new thing. Nido has been out there forever. That being said, at one point somebody raised an alarm, and then it was figured out, and then all of a sudden we found out that there's Nido. We found out that there's like over 30 different strains of Nido that now have been discovered. So is it bad? Yes. Do you want it? No. Preferably. That being said, if you take good care of your animals, if your husbandry is on point, if your animals are not stressed, Nido positive animals will remain asymptomatic their entire life, live with the virus the way a virus should work, because a virus's goal is never to kill the host, right? If a virus kills its host, it dies. And there's no point. So the reason the nidovirus is in the wild and isn't killing the animals is because the animals have built this like symbiosis relationship between the virus and the host, and they live together. Now, in captivity, it's different, right? Because the virus doesn't work quite the same way. We're stuck in an environment where the animal often tends to reinfect itself, tends to live its own feces sometimes, spread it around. So there's a lot of things that are different. But going back to it, so if you import an animal, let me ask it this way. If you were to test, and testing in Canada is insanely expensive, just so we're clear, you're looking at about $250,
like $55-$60.
Oh, it's way more than that by the time you do it, because you're going to have to get mail and ship it there. If you can do it for $55-$60, you're doing pretty good, but it is more than that. You'll see.
Let's talk after this, because I might. Yeah. Anyway, we could. Okay, yeah.
So we've tried it, and that's why I'm telling you. It costs us around $400 for 3 animals.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
So why are you testing? So if it's to find out if you're positive or not, okay. Then the next question is, what will you do if your 3 out of 4 animals are positive? Will that change anything for you?
I have no idea.
Okay, so then figure out that question before you decide to take the next step. Because if the answer is, if they're positive, I'm putting them all down. If they're positive, I'm now building a new collection in a separate room for nido-positive only animals. Or if they're positive and asymptomatic, I'm leaving it as is, right? So it all depends on what you decide to do with the results that you get, right? Because there's tons of people that have nido-positive collections, that breed them, that have eggs, that have babies hatch out. The babies that hatch out are all nido-negative, because the nido does not transfer through the egg membrane and can only live about, I think they said, They live the nido lives about 3 days, up to 3 days outside of a host. So an egg, as long as you're not maternally incubating, once it's out of there, it's not really a risk past that time lapse. So again, why, if you're testing, test with a goal in mind and knowing what you're going to do if you get the positive results. And then there's the next step, which is, I don't know if you've heard a lot of the studies that are going on about heat treatment. I don't know if you've heard about that yet or not.
I did. I was told or heard that if you incubate or essentially incubate the snake at a much higher temperature than you usually keep it, it's reduced or has a chance of getting rid of the. Anyway, yeah, you go ahead. So if you don't mind. Yeah.
So I brought in Julander to talk about it. He was part of that study, Justin Julander. And he talked quite into details to a point where I didn't fully understand everything. But the gist of it was that they raised diamond python cells. And then they infected it with nido, and proved that you could 100% kill nido by using heat only and raising the temperature. And again, you have to extrapolate the information and use it in a way that is not tested, and is not is something that I'm telling you to do, but Nick Mutton says it too. Justin Julander says it with a lot of precaution. I've heard other people, but essentially, if you were to not to take a risk and choose to do it, which I'm telling you not to, you would incubate it at 95 for between 10 to 14 days long, and your animal should be 100% nido-free after.
That is the snake itself that you're incubating.
Exactly. So the idea is that your incubator, so for example, this box, if it was at 95, I would put the animal in it, and then it would live in there for 10 to 14 days, and then it would come out. Which is also the case for any other problems you have with your animals. So when your animal is sick, what's the first thing you tend to do usually is you tend to give it antibiotics. So every time I've had a sick snake, I always do two things. I always put it in an incubator and I give it antibiotics. Because by raising the heat, you're raising its immune system. It's fighting it off a lot faster, and the antibiotics working. If you end up getting a culture done, you're even more certain you're doing all the right things. But heat is extremely, extremely effective in animals, as long as you don't kill the animal with heat, right? So there's all that extremes. And in pythons, 95 is the upper limit of safe. And I'm saying close to safe. Could you kill an animal? Yes. Could you cause neurological problems after? Yes. I know a lot of people that have used it so far. I've not seen anybody have any negative effects from neurological standpoint or have an animal die in the incubator, but I have seen animals get injured. So by that is by animals pushing and trying to get out of bins because they're so hot for such a long time. So destructions of face, and I'm saying that because I destroyed my diamond python's head by putting him in the incubator when he got sick. And it wasn't nido, but he got sick, and I treated him after bringing him to the vet and got a culture done, got him on antibiotics, put him in the incubator, and he ripped his whole head trying to get out of the bin because it was so hot. Again, what can you do? Well, I shouldn't have had corners on the inside of the lid, and now I've learned from it. I've changed my bin to having a nice soft interior everywhere so the animal can't injure itself. But anyway, so going back to it is nido technically can be treatment. There is no official treatment, and it hasn't been studied, and it hasn't proven to work, but the studies show it works, and I know a lot of people who've done it, and it does work. So again, what do you do with that information is up to you. Do you want to test? Sure. But I'm telling you, if everybody was to test, in my opinion, it's in every single collection. That's what I think, dude. And yeah, even if you get a negative test, it doesn't mean that you don't have it. It simply means that your animal is doing well, and when the RNA is being defecated in the feces, it's in such low concentration that you're getting a negative result. So if your animal is healthy, your animal is doing well, even if it's positive and it has nido, it's going to test negative because it's fighting off the infection or the virus, no problem. And it's just putting out very low concentrations of RNA. So it's like, when should you test? If you're going to test it as soon as it's gone. Like as soon as you bought the green tree and it landed in your house and it was about as stressed as possible, test it then. Mm-hmm. You want to test it when it's at its worst of the worst and the most stress as possible, because there's a good chance at that point it's going to test positive. But don't keep it for 6 weeks. Leave it alone. Get it stress-free. Get it acclimatized and then test it. Of course it's going to test negative, right? But again, why are you testing? And decide already what you're going to do if you're going to get a positive result, because that changes everything, right? Like, do you want a nido? I don't have a nido-positive animal in my room, but I also only have tested a few animals, and I only tested a few sick animals, and they turned out to not be nido-positive. It doesn't change that I could have it. And we had Nick Munn on his collection on our show, and he talked about it. He's like, I'm not testing. Of course I have it. Everybody has it. He's like, I can guarantee you if I test 100 animals, I'll find some that have it. Guaranteed. Now, do I want to have it? No, but I also don't sell adults. I only sell babies, right? And you got to think of how you're dealing, right? I only sell babies, and hypothetically, babies are 100% nido-free, as long as after that, the way you're taking care of your collection does that. Like, right, I wash my hands in between every single cage, and I don't use hand cleaners. I simply have a bin of 70% alcohol, dip my hands in, 30 seconds. I dip my hooks, everything, all in that, and I go from one cage to another. And why do I do that? Because after having Justin Julander, he tested all the different products, and 70% alcohol was the most effective and fastest dry time in between that killed everything perfectly. So if you have good husbandry between cages and all that, you shouldn't spread anything. And it's spread from contact, right? And if you leave a cage empty for a week or two and you sterilize it, it's nido free after. So, but again, I'm saying nido, but realistically, we could be talking about every single other pathogens that could be a problem,
IBD,
right?
any of those, right? Yeah.
So when you clean your cages, always clean your babies first, then clean your 1-year-olds, then your 2 to 3, and then all your adults. And if you always use that order, you're always decreasing the chance, because chances are all the babies were born, well, they are born without it. And then it keeps going, right? So it's just being smart, being conscious. And this isn't a quarantine. This is just how I clean my animals every single time. And if you have an animal that you think is sick or that you know isn't doing as well, just don't clean it with everyone else. Just on your off day, you're only cleaning that animal and treat it like a quarantine, right? I don't, you want to talk about quarantine, I don't have a true quarantine because I can't have my snakes out of my room. If I need a true quarantine, my true quarantine is Shan's house.
Shan's.
Where
okay.
They, the green trees were all, I built cages, I sent them to Shan, and he was going to have the 12 green trees there for the first 6 months, right? Because that's a true quarantine. But then when they come here, then they become in a cage next to other animals, but they've been technically quarantined, and then I still will hand sanitize and sanitize everything in between. Sorry, I've gone on tangents everywhere here.
No. This is you're answering all the questions I want to ask. I've been waiting so long to talk to you. This is all incredible. Just before we continue, the Julander episode, that one has already been released.
It has been. It was our second show.
Okay.
I was using a shit mic. The recording is terrible, but you can listen to it and it's good. It's good.
The information is there. Okay, so for everyone listening,
I bought this mic because of his show because it was so terrible.
Okay. Yeah, well, you sound great now. But yeah, for everyone listening, I will go find the link for that and put it in the description. I know I'm going to be listening to it right after this. So if anybody else wants to find it, it'll be in the description of this show. Go check it out.
Episode 2 of Reptile Rejects.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that sounds. I would like to hear more about because that's another thing that everyone has their. Some people tell me the only thing that works is hydrogen peroxide, and other people say they use vinegar and water mix and all these kind of things, and it's really is. It's cool to hear someone's actually done the testing and kind of hear about all that.
So he talks about all the different cleaners, and one of the interesting things he said is we tested hydrogen peroxide at 90% and 70%. 70% was better than the 90 or the 99. He tested all the common cleaning ones like F10 and the chlorhexidine and all that, and they all worked. Every single one. Bleach worked. Everything that he tested worked on Nido and killed it. Some had faster contact time, and tested how long Nido dies on its own. It was about 3 days. Everything is gone. Sun kills everything. If you put your cage in the sun will kill almost instantly. So they tested cold and heat. The heat was, again, the 95 at that. And they tested the cold. I don't think the cold was as effective. I don't remember. But it's really interesting. So he goes really, because I asked all the questions for myself, right? So I really went deep into the Nido.
That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So that one has that. And then the Nick Mutton episode, he talks a lot about Nido again, but from a different perspective. The perspective of Nido's been around for 40 years. It's in the wild. It's in everybody's collection. We have been passing animals from one to the other. From one person breeds, has it in collection, moves it from left to right to all that. You have more than 5 snakes, chances are you have Nido. He's like, let's be honest, this is how it is. Now, does that mean your collection is full of Nido? No, because chances are if you're taking good care of your animals, you won't even know you have a sick snake, right? Okay. And I often say this, and I'm going on a tangent again, but if you want sick snakes, if you want snakes to die, if you want to have problems, breed your animals. right? Breed as soon as you breed your animals, you're bringing down their temperatures. You're testing their system, really, is what you're doing, right? By bringing down animals to the 60s that are pythons, if there's anything in them, if they're unhealthy in any way, it'll pop up. That's when you'll start getting the RIs. That's when you'll start doing that. And that's when you start seeing, okay, maybe I got to keep an eye on this one, or, things like that. So it's another, like, I don't, like, a lot of people, it's funny because I was listening to another podcast. They were talking about testing to see if your animals are healthy in quarantine by decreasing temperature. So it was actually a wild thought. It's
like
ethical.
stressing them out in quarantine.
So imagine doing that, right? Imagine stressing your animals. So it's been now in a shipment. It's all stressed. Bring down the temperatures even lower and make everything come out. Okay, ethically, is it right? No, I don't feel it's right. But it's an interesting way of quarantining an animal and actually knowing if your animal has something prior to bringing it into your collection. I wouldn't do it, but when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Right?
Yeah, you get it. You get everything taken care of right off the bat.
It's an interesting way of doing it, but you could technically quarantine lower temperatures and see what your animals have. But on the flip side of that token, you could keep that animal that maybe did have something perfectly healthy its whole life and not have an issue if you have proper husbandry. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Since I want to get into like your lines and all of that stuff as well, but now I'm on this like tangent as well. So before we get into that, do you mind if I ask you what your opinion on mites are, and if like are you more concerned about mites or like some of these viruses, or like where's your head at when it comes to mites?
If you're gonna have a problem, mites is a huge pain in the ass, but super easy to get rid of. So I'll take mites any day. Okay. I used to have a mite infection once a year. Every time I would go to the show, I would come back and I'd get mites about 2 weeks after. Took me a while to pick up on it and to realize that now when I go to a show, I don't go in my room for a day. I take a shower, I take off my clothes, everything gets washed. And then the next day, even if I've been gone for a weekend, I'm not taking care of my snakes when I get home that night because I'm like, oh my God, I haven't been in my room for 3 days. Do not make that mistake. Ditch your clothes, clean everything, take a shower, and then once you're 100% clean, then take care of it. Every time, that's how I've always had my infestations. I have not had any in probably about 3 or 4 years now because I've been smart about it and I've learned from my mistakes. But that being said, man, it's so easy to take care of mites. So there is like 15 different ways of treating mites. Everybody has their own way. I can tell you my way, and it's probably expired because it's been so long ago. This is my way. One second, let me check the expiration. 2024 actually. Ivermectin.
Okay, so that did not really work for me. I'm thankfully I have beat it now. But I did also like last year I had a really bad mite and I still have PTSD, and like I can't imagine having to deal with them again. But so the ivermectin works for you. What do you just soak the snakes in a diluted version of it, or?
So first thing first is you gotta make the cage sterile, right? So paper, hide box, no mulch, nothing. Cage needs to be 100% sterile. If your animals are really infested with mites, give them a bath with some Dawn and remove everything you can, and then let the animal dry. Then all I do is I put ivermectin, 30 milliliters of ivermectin of that concentration, which I can show you the bottle again after if you want, into 1.5 liters of liquid. That's what I use, and my concentration is, I don't know, man. Contains 5 gram of ivermectin. Each milliliters contains 5 milligrams. There you go. I'll put it up for the picture if anybody wants to take a screenshot.
Thank you.
So that's what I do. I can give you the information after if you want it after the podcast. And then I spray down the entire cage, the animal, the paper, everything in that cage. And then I wait. And then a week and a half again, I do the entire cage again. A week and a half again, I do the entire cage. The idea is to kill the cycle of the mites, right? So the ivermectin kills the mites, but it doesn't kill the eggs. And the cycle, it only takes one stupid mite to survive to make another 100 eggs, right? Or plus, right? So the idea is to continuously always, I think they have like a week and a half to a 2 week cycle. It depends. Some people say longer, some people say shorter. But the idea is you keep respraying, letting the cage dry. And it's actually when it dries, the ivermectin is what the animals eat, and then that's what kills them. So, and I've used this for the past 20 years. It's super easy because if I have one cage with it, I'm spraying the entire room. Every single cage is going to get sprayed with ivermectin. And I have zero issues. So that's what I use now, and I have great success. And you can buy this at any cattle stores. And in Ottawa, there's 2 places that sell it. One of them is right in front of the PetSmart on Innis.
Richie's feeding. Oh,
I bought that one at Apple Saddler. To give you an idea. I don't know if they would have it at Richie's Feed and Seed, but you could get it there. But that bottle was like, I had to go there and they ordered it for me, and then I got it, a week after. And,
convenient. That's like 10 minutes from my house.
Okay, well, 10 minutes from my house too. I'm pretty sure you're close to me.
Yeah, it must be, yeah.
I think I'm the other way. But anyway, so my bottle's expired. It gives you an idea. And when you buy it, it's like 3 years good for, easily. So it probably still works. I probably still would use it if I needed it. I mean, it expired in 2024. I guess I need a new bottle.
Okay.
So that's what I do. Honestly, it works great. Before that, the old school way in the 90s was using Nix. Have you ever heard of Nix?
Yes, I have,
so
yes.
Nix, you just go to the pharmacy and then you do a big blob of Nix. You mix it in water in the exact same spray. It works. I've never had any issues using Nix, but after a few years, it came out that Nix causes neurological problems in snakes. So I've just stopped using it. I've never had issues using it, but that's what I've heard from many people. So I don't use it. I only use ivermectin, and it's been great for me. So would I pick mites over any other pathogens? 100% every day.
Okay.
I hate them, and it's a huge pain in the ass, but you can get rid of it, right? So
yeah,
I mean, it's lesser of all evils.
Yeah, and so basically what you're saying is like just kind of jump off the show. Is you'll actually get like a mite on you at the show, and it'll stay on your clothes until you get home alive.
Oh yeah,
that's even more terrifying.
Well, that's why you should never let's be honest. When you go to a show, you can see some of the tables that are pretty terrible, right? You can see, and people are like over there, and can I touch that ball python? And then people will take out the ball python, let them touch it, and then they go to the next table. What do you think they're doing? I don't understand how people. If I vended a show, which there's a reason I don't, I would not let anybody touch anything. If you want to touch it, yes, but you're buying it because, I mean, all you're doing is propagating something from one collection to the other, and so on and so on and so on. So mites are in there, and I mean, it's renowned. Like, think of how far a mite can travel. Like, it can jump a foot or two, man, for these little tiny things. Like they're
really?
For their body size, they're like the it's I don't know much about bugs, but I'm telling you, man, like just don't go in your reptile room after you go to a show. That's the number one way to get mites. I know you can get mites from mulch and things like that, but usually those are wood mites. You usually don't get mites that are specific snake mites. Usually anyway, so Yeah. So I haven't had any in a while, well, many years, but honestly, it's really not a big deal. If I did, I just don't sell anything for a month, and you're fine.
Do you think that maybe part of the reason the infestation got so bad at my house is carpeted floors in the reptile room? Does that make sense? I'm just trying to pick out all the.
Why the heck do you have carpeted floors in your reptile room?
I tried my best. I'm planning to rip them up and get wood done, but it's a little expensive, so I haven't had a chance to do it yet.
100%, it's a good reason to think about it.
Okay.
Don't you drop your water bowls or shit on there all the time?
I do a really good job, kind of vacuuming it and trying to keep, but there's stains in the carpet now, and there's
no way to keep that clean. So 100% that is one of the vectors. What would I do if I had carpet floor? Honestly, I think I would ivermectin the floors.
Ivermectin. Okay, so I did do that.
After that, I would just spray the whole floor, and when I spray, I even spray the outside of the cages, the windows, on the sides. When I've had them, and I'll do on the floor, and you literally create barriers around everything, right? So Yeah, I know a lot of other people will use pest strips, will use a couple of other products that you hear in the States. They seem to be really strong, and you often hear of people be careful because it can kill your animal, right? So I don't use any of those products because, in my opinion, they're too strong. But I've had 100% perfect success with ivermectin, but I tend to retreat multiple times, just because all you're doing is spraying the cage, right? That's all you need to do after. So you're spraying every cage until everything's wet, and then you move to the next one and you give it a week or so to dry, and it's got to fully dry out, and then you repeat it. I'll do sometimes 3, 4, 5 treatments. So
I when I finally got rid of it, it was like months, and I'm sure that I was making mistakes and like it was coming back. But when I finally got rid of it, I was soaking the snakes every 3 days in water, and every 3 days I did a full change of the cage, sprayed it with at first it was ivermectin, and I was like, the ivermectin is not working, and so I got preventamite from the States, and I sprayed that, and eventually it's done. But it's good to know. So maybe
you still had mulch at the bottom of the cages, right?
No, I put everything on paper towels for months, and actually I kept them on paper towels for months after, so I still have snakes on paper towels, and I'm slowly switching everything back to like having a cork hide instead of a plastic hide or whatever. But now, after speaking with you and the convenience of how easily you can take care of these things and clean your I might just I still have some thinking to do of how I want to kind of play this out. But
it all depends on what you like, right? Like, I like seeing my animals, so I have every single cage I can see. But if you look like in the background, you'll start noticing that I have like these plastic pipes, right? Because I've gone from, instead of having these branches, I have a lot of them that have branches that are screwed in and I can't take them off. Now I've started putting pipes, and I've got PVC printed holders, and now when I want to, I simply lift it up and I can pull it out and take it all out of the cage, right? Now, why? Because now I can pull them out, I can clean them. Those branches, when they poop on it or they get that white urine on it, it's just stuck. It's stuck in there, and I can never clean it, right? So, does the branch look nicer? Yes, but I can get an entire second level with PVC pipes ran everywhere. I can give multiple contact points, and it works great, but visually it's not as appealing. But the animals is using it. It doubles the floor space. Like, so in the end, it's, what are you doing? I'm doing it for convenience and for what works for the animals and what gives them the most amount of optimal. Is it as pretty as a cage with plants in them and all that kind of stuff? No, but I'm doing it for convenience and what is it best for the animals? I honestly don't think that it's better to have a branch or a plastic pipe as long as it works, right? So, but 100%. Visually, it's not as pretty. Like, a substrate is way nicer than paper. Way nicer.
Yeah. And what are you using to clean the urates or the poop off the branches or the sticks or the PVC? Are you just using water, or is there something else?
I'll usually, like, if the cage, I'll take out the paper, take out everything off the floor, then I'll usually dump a cup of water, scrub everything as best as I can, then dry it all out. Then I'll take like a quarter cup or just a little bit of alcohol, dump it in there, and then just rub the alcohol everywhere. And then I let it dry. If I empty the cage, I always will wipe everything down with alcohol. Alcohol, the fun thing with alcohol is within 3 minutes, the smell is gone and it's fully dried, right?
Evaporates.
So you can just, then after that, you're all good. And the kill time for everything with alcohol is way better. So compared to bleach, I don't like bleach. It leaves a smell. It stays there.
Yeah.
I don't use bleach, but so I'll do that and I'll just keep going. So when you compare it to mulch is cool, but when it pees in there or it poops, half the time you don't see it, and when you do, you're taking out a scoop. But let's be honest, like, how much of that urine has fallen and migrated down the bucket to the left side, and eventually you have to do a full swap because there's so much urine and shit and little particles of everything in there that there's no way that's clean anymore. Yeah, well, it's because it's filled with feces and urine that you just can't clean because you don't know it's actually there. So, is it better? I question it. Is it cleaner? No, but I love having clean cages. I clean if I see somebody defecate or piss, clean it right away. But that's just me being anal retentive. And it's a lot easier on paper than on substrate, but substrate looks way nicer. Branches look way nicer and all that, but
I do agree with you that it looks nicer, but I also agree with you that I think it's purely for the human. I don't think they care if it's a white PVC pipe or a branch or whatever, as long as they can perch comfortably on it as they want to. I agree with you on that perspective. But for humans, especially if you're having somebody over, you want to show them the enclosures, whatever.
Yeah.
You want them to be like to look good or whatever. But I at this point in my snake keeping experience, I'm more leaning towards I want to nail down all the husbandry and make sure everyone's good, and then figure out aesthetics of the enclosures. So I kind of like I like what you've done in your reptile room.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been
for sure. Yeah.
You take the information from everybody, you figure out what works for you, and you adapt it. And this is kind of where I've ended up. You know what I mean? Like I know it could be better. It can always be better. I'm always upgrading. I'm always changing something. But I'm doing it for what works for me and what is convenient for me. And to me, cleaning needs to be convenience. It needs to work well. It needs to go. It needs to flow. And I look at some people that take like 4 hours to clean 10 cages. I'm like, no, I couldn't live. I've got too many kids. I've got a job. I've got a career. I've got everything, right? So got millions of sports for the kids. Every weekend we're always gone. Like I was gone to Toronto. You were asking me why I wasn't at the Ottawa show. Well, I was in Toronto for a hockey tournament. Like it's always something else taking me. So I need to be able to have this room cleaned very fast if I need to. The thing that takes the longest amount of time in my room to clean, and I can't do it any faster, is the babies. When it's baby season, I've got 80 babies. There's no way to take out one bin, take it out, change the water bowl, clean the water bowl, put a new paper towel, put it back in. Like that takes 3 minutes. You do that times 80, you're looking at 3 hours, 4 hours to clean out all the babies. It's so time consuming, like insane. That is the time that is the longest and the hardest thing is always taking care of babies. When you have a lot, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Are any of the kids interested in the reptiles?
My son used to love them. He got one of the snakes, and it's funny. The big jungle female is actually my son's. He got it for his birthday when he was like 10. It's me taking care of it now. Well, it's me taking care of it forever. My daughter likes the snakes a bit. She'll come, but 3 months go by, she hasn't said one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, can I see this one? I'm like, okay. And then 3 months will go by, so.
And nothing, I was just trying to see if you can find a way to get some child labor to help clean the baby enclosures.
No, they don't do any of that. They just want, the labor would be more like, can I just hold them? And that's it. Yeah.
I'll hold it while you clean. Yeah, that makes sense.
It slows me down. It doesn't help.
I'm sure. Usually I keep my episodes around an hour and 30 minutes, as you were saying before. But if you have a little bit longer, I would love to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah, go for it, man.
If that's okay. Okay, cool.
That's why I was surprised that you did the show so far. I'm like, I don't know how to keep it that short, but go for it. It's sometimes, you ask all your questions and you're like, all right, I'm done. And sometimes you're like, I haven't even touched the questions I wanted to ask. Like, honestly, I might, we'll see how this goes. But okay, so maybe we'll jump into some of the lines and stuff as well, because as a newer carpet keeper, Morelia keeper in general, I have a few different ones right now. I obviously I know what the animals are, I know the species and all of that, but then you go and you look at some of the pros that have been doing it for a while, and they're throwing out all these names, all these lines, and all these stuff, and I'm completely like lost to it all. So it's cool that when I purchased my first snake from you, and I'm sure you probably have been doing this for a long time because you've been dealing with Morelia people for a long time, you immediately gave me the lines and the information and all of that. And so I guess my question is, like, do you specifically, and we kind of touched on this before the episodes as well, we were talking about, like, do you specifically look for these lines to, or before that, sorry everyone, I'm jumping around a little bit, but before that, what defines a line within Morelia? Like, what makes it specifically a line, if that makes sense? So it's going to sound really weird. It's hard to say, like, I will never call any of my animals a line. Could I? Probably. Because, like, some animals, like, if you look at the jungles, I'm now on the 4th generation of ocelot zebra jungles. So that means that I have the great-great-grandparent of the babies that were produced, right? So at some point, when you have a distinguished look that you've been breeding for many, many years, eventually you can call it a line. That being said, there is no rule on what to do. My rule is usually it becomes a line when other people start calling your animals a line. Do you know what I mean?
So sorry, before you continue, it's funny. So because I was just about to tell you, you don't call your animals a line, but I've seen other Morelia in Canada, and I was told, oh yeah, this is a Dominic Carbonneau, or I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to exactly pronounce your last name, but I was told that it was your line by several other people. So you do have lines out there.
Well, if it does, cool. And that's, to me, that's how it would usually work, right? It's when you've bred so many and you keep reproducing the same phenotype or enhancing that specific phenotype to a point where it all came from you, and eventually that's what becomes a line. But I don't think you should name your own line. I think it should naturally come because of the sheer numbers and the look, and to everybody else it's obvious. So like my animals, almost every single, I'm going to go back to jungle, so we're talking about almost every single jungle has derived from one female that was a Favel line female, and that female has been so prolific, she's produced over 150 babies so far, one female. And the Favel line came from a Jeff Favel that used to live in BC, that was a huge breeder in the 90s that produced tons. He used to be good friends with Don Patterson, used to do tons, and then he mysteriously disappeared out of the hobby, sold everything, and just left. So
Interesting.
his animal, I got some of the history. It's a pure jungle animal, but I just got it from Favel. And I just said, this is the Favel girl. This is from Favel, and tracking it down, it came from the States from this other line. I'd have to go look at the paperwork, but I just started calling it the Favel animal. And then with time, everybody kept calling it the Favel line, and it became the Favel line. Okay? Favel's not my name. It came from him. And to give you an idea, Favel was really well known for the Neon line. I don't know if you've ever heard the Neon line. That was one of the big ones he started.
Super bright yellows?
Yeah, and the Neon line got mixed with the coastals that caused the Gamma line, to give you an idea. But all that shit came from Jeff Favel initially. So, but this is going back like 30, 40 years. So now what produces a line? Again, it's something made up by us, right? So another way to make a line to me would be like if I import two West Papuan carpet pythons and I breed them together from two wild-caught, that is a specific animal that has a completely different bloodline. You could call that a line. Now, would I do that? I wouldn't. I'd just say they're unrelated from two wild-caught parents. But if you had a different look and you kept breeding that look, that could become a line. I don't know if I'm kind of answering your question or not, but...
No, absolutely, you are. Yeah.
I feel like I'm rambling now.
No, you're good. That's perfect. Okay, and then so I've also heard that there's... Obviously, you're calling them pure jungles, so they must be. But I've heard from people that like it's very rare to find pure jungles in Canada, and that in general most carpets that we're seeing now are a mix of IJs and coastals and jungles. What do you think of that?
So if you go to a reptile show and you try to buy any of them, they're all mix. They're all crap,
Okay.
and they're all crosses. Let's go like that, and there's a reason I would never buy anything from there. So if you're going to go buy a carpet python at a reptile show, don't expect to get something that is, and I'm going to say always quotation, pure. So pure is the purest to our knowledge to as far as we can look back, right? So, for example, like some of the most known lines are like the German lines of jungles, which are considered pure if they're from there, if you can prove it back. And the female that I had was produced by Don Patterson, which Don Patterson imported from the Precision line in Germany, which those animals are very specific. They have a very specific look. And are they pure? They're as pure as we can tell. Like, there's always going to be a like, well, I'm taking his word because he says he got it from there, and his word says he got it from there, right? So
Yeah.
It's like if I told you, well, that jungle to me is pure because I got it from that line, from that person, it got to me, and now it's been 4 generations that I've been breeding from that stock. So I know it's not been mixed with anything else. But in the end, everything from Australia has been not come in since the 1960s. We're talking about 80 years ago since any stock from Australia has come out, except the illegal shit, but that's different. So how pure is pure? It's pure as we can say it is the best way I can put it. So are my jungles pure? They come from what is considered pure lines. Are they 100% pure? I can't tell that. I can't tell you for sure. I will put the label pure because they come from pure lines, but I can't guarantee it because I don't have the lineage all the way back to 1964 to the location, to the GPS tracking of where that animal was taken, right? So there's no way to tell. But with Papuan carpets, you could, right? With your green trees, you could. Now, like your Biaks, you're assuming they're pure, right? And you're assuming they're from Biak, but you got it from an importer, and he told you that, and they look like Biak, and you're assuming they are. And then when you have babies, you're going to reproduce them, and you say they're pure Biaks, right?
They're pure Biaks.
But you still went on the word of the importer, and the importer got it from a guy in Indonesia that he probably paid a few pennies to get those snakes from, and he might have picked it up from a different island than Biak. How do you know?
Right.
You don't, right? But we're assuming they're pure.
Yeah. Well, supposedly the ones I got were captive bred. I don't know if that's... Yeah. But anyway, so so I do understand what you're saying.
The green tree thing is different, but yes, we're going to go with captive bred.
We're gonna go, absolutely. It's funny because I've said it to a few people since, and everyone had the same reaction. But anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. So then, are you trying to keep your lines pure? Are you pairing coastals to jungles at all? Or are you trying to keep your lines pure?
So I would never ever mix a coastal to a jungle. That being said, a coastal and a jungle are genetically identical. Right? If you're talking about a northern coastal, according to the new genetic testing and all that, they're the same. But I look at it as jungle and a coastal as 2 locality types then. They might be genetically identical, so technically a jungle jag could be considered pure. Okay? But we have kept them separate forever, and they're basically 2 different localities of coastal carpet. Let's just call it like it is. They're technically both carpet. They're all Chennai is the best way I can put it. So they're Morelia.
Sorry, the jungle jags.
So they're all called Morelia spilota Chennai.
Chennai. Those are the coastals.
Those are the coastals and the jungles. They're all in one big bucket now.
Oh, okay.
So they come with the same name. Now, could there be subspecies? I don't know, but they have been lumped in together. Would I breed them together? No, because to me, it's like breeding a Jolton to a Darwin or a Jolton to a Cape York or an West Papuan to a Darwin. Even if they're identical in the same species, I wouldn't mix them because one is on a completely different island and they're a different locality, right? So I won't mix them. Okay, and also I used to do some crosses. I don't do any at all. I haven't done them in a long, long time. So everything I produce is only pure. So I only breed coastal to coastals, only Papuans to Papuans, only jungles to jungles, only inlands to inlands. I'm not into the whole mixing. I will do morphs, but I'll only do the morphs specific to the type of animal they are. Yeah.
Okay, so perfect leads into my next question. I was told... and again, like you said earlier, I'm just kind of talking to as many carpet people, as many Morelia people as possible and trying to absorb all of it. But I was told that all the morphs, even within the jungles, are come from coastal mixes. Like that there's no pure jungle morph. So that's not true, in your opinion.
Again, jungle and coastal technically are the same thing, but we've kept them segregated and separated forever because they were different species before. So in jungles... In North America, you've got the zebra, I guess the super zebra, and you've got the ocelots. That's basically it. In Australia, you have an axanthic, which is something... Anyway, I won't go down the axanthic role, but they're not axanthic. They're actually called hypoxanthism, but that's something else. There is no axanthic in any of our snakes.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you want to hear a really good rant, Nick Mutton goes on a really big rant about that one.
On your podcast?
Yeah, just basically,
Okay, perfect.
The letter A means no, nothing at all, and it is not an absence of the yellow pigment. It is a decrease of the yellow pigment. So you can't say there's no yellow pigment in an exanthic animal because there is. You're simply reducing your yellow pigment. So therefore, it's a hypoxanthism. It's a decrease in. So it's completely wrong terminology. But in the reptile world, all our genetic terminology is wrong. So I don't know.
And hypo is also a decrease in? Is that what hypos?
Hypo is decrease in. Decrease of.
Okay.
Whatever. A smaller amount of, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
So only zebra, ocelot, and exanthic in Australia. In coastals, you've got hypo, you've got caramel, you've got tiger, you've got, what am I missing? Jag, and all the combinations of those put together. So those are, could you breed them together? Yes. But again, to me, you'd be crossing those. You'd be crossing an imaginary line that, in my opinion, should never be crossed.
Okay.
So that's how I can put it. But everybody's got their own boundaries. That's a boundary I will not cross. I've never bred a jungle to a coastal, and I never will.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes. And can you visually tell now, looking at an animal? Can you visually tell that it's a jungle or a coastal or whatever?
So from my animals, yes. Only because they're so distinct and they all have their very specific phenotype down with the lines that I have. That being said, whenever you get the question of what is my carpet python, it's just a carpet python. Nobody told you where you got it, nobody told you the lines, nobody told you who bred them, it is literally that. It is a carpet python. It is a mixed
It's a mutt.
hybrid mutt. There's just nothing else because their phenotype is so variable that a coastal can look like a jungle, can look like a muddy brown snake, can look like beige earth tones, can look almost every color. Changing color is really easy in the wild. You take an animal that's all brown, you put it in a green rainforest, within about 2 to 3 populations or generations, it'll start turning green. Why? Because one animal survives better with a slightly different color and he propagates. And color is really, really easy to change. So jungles are purely a coastal that moved into a rainforest and then had to change its color to be able to survive and camouflage better. And then within a few generations, they didn't look like coastals anymore, but they're genetically identical.
Okay. Yeah. I was sold one listed as a hypo jungle carpet python. Does that make sense?
It doesn't, because there's no hypo in jungle.
So it must be a mix or whatever.
It's a jungle coastal cross automatically, because the hypo is, well, it could be Darwin too, because you've got hypo in Darwin, you've got actually hypo in Bredley, and you've got hypo in coastal. So it depends which hypo they have, which all 3 of those are different. So it's guaranteed across. But think about it, people only use the names that they want. Like when you hear a jungle jag, right? Jungle jag is the most popular cross. Okay, so people are like, it's a jungle carpet python. But why is it not a coastal jag?
Right.
Because the jag, even though we know it's a cross, coastal, the jag comes from the coastal, but everybody calls it a jungle jag. Or it's a diamond jungle, right? Or a diamond jungle jag, which you hear all the time. But it's never a diamond coastal jag. It's a diamond jungle jag. It's not a diamond jungle coastal. Why do they always drop the one name that is not as pretty as the other? It's just to show you that it's purely it's a selling tactic. Exactly, it's marketing that. But because of that, people are like, no, my diamond jungle is pure. Like, no, like it's not, or your jungle jag is not pure either. It's been mixed. It's been, again, you could say it's pure according to the new book if it only has coastal and jungle, but to me, they've been segregated for so long that they're not the same.
Fascinating. Okay, and then on the jungle jag that you mentioned, I keep hearing that. Do you work with them?
I did produce a ton of jags. I used to work with them. I do not anymore. I produced one of the first Jags in Canada. I paid $4,000 Canadian for a Jag, just so we're clear. Okay. At the end of the 90s, they were extremely expensive, and I did make my money back. I sold them for like $2,500 to $3,000 each. It was a beautiful thing. And back then, they were all normal, and everybody hid all their neurological problems. Okay. So do I work with them?
There is neurological projects.
100%.
Neurological projects.
100%.
Okay.
So it's an extremely common gene. It's a common gene that is throughout the entire reptile world. It is the identical gene as the spider and ball python. It is the identical gene in, I think it's the boa morph there's one of them, the boas, there's one of them in retics, there's some in like even leopard geckos and another where like, and one or two.
Yeah.
So, and all those are the same thing. They're the JAG gene, which is basically a decrease in pigmentation, the black pigmentation, and reduction of pattern. But the reduction of pattern, basically the explanation is that the formation of the neuron cells in your brain uses the same pathway as the dark melanin pigmentation. When you reduce the pigmentation, you reduce the pathways for the formation of the neuron pathways, and you will always have the problem. Will they exhibit the problem? Not necessarily. You might have an animal that looks perfectly fine and that is perfectly fine its whole life. You'll have some that are perfectly fine until one day one thing happens, and then your animal corks through or flips on his back or does the whole head on the side thing all the time and then never comes back. I've had Jags that were perfect their entire life. I bred him to a girl. He bred. I took him away from the girl, and then he started flipping on his side and never was okay again. Okay, because that stress of being taken away. So you can't get rid of it. It is 100% tied to the gene. That being said, you can breed a Jag to another coastal, and Jag is incomplete dominance. So if that allele with the Jag gene does not get passed on, and it won't get passed on 50% of the time, 50% of the animals will not be Jags and will be 100% neurologically normal and will never ever show signs, and all will be perfect. So, and just like all the other genes, when you put Jag, as soon as you get homozygous Jag, so the Jag is on both allele, you get a white dead animal. And it's a white dead animal, and all the other ones, whether it be retics, whether it be ball pythons, whether it be like a super spider, is a dead white snake, right? It's exactly the same thing. I'm pretty sure that is the Enigma dead white.
I've never worked with leopard geckos. I just keep hearing people say
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
All the same thing.
Yeah.
All our genes tend to like be in the same. Like we have pied everywhere. We have albino everywhere. We have exanthic everywhere. We have a lot of the genes are the same. There's a reason why you can breed an albino ball python to an albino carpet python, and get albino babies, because a lot of them are actually in the same areas of the genes, and they actually even work together, which is crazy to think when you think about it. But a lot of these genes are all the same.
Okay, interesting. Speaking of albino, there are no albino jungle carpet pythons.
There is not. There's albino Darwins. So the only one that came out was the Darwin. And the problem with that is that when they came out, everybody took albino and bred it to everything and spread albino to every single species out there. So that's also the why we have no pure albinos in Canada, because they've been so mixed. I could not find any that I could trace that would have even a remotely trustable lineage back to Darwin's. I couldn't. So that's why I will not sell any of my albinos, or whenever I've produced them, I've never put the word pure, because I can't find any. There's none. Could I import? Right now, I know UK Pythons has apparently some pure, regular Darwins, which I think would be really cool. The problem is they have no value. So it'd be a cool animal to have, but it's a $100, $200 snake in Canada. So
interesting.
I'd love to get them, but I'm not going to import them. But if somebody does it, I'll definitely get some, because I don't have any. I've never technically produced pure Darwins because I can't get them.
Interesting. And then at the beginning of the episode, you said super zebra to super zebra, and then you said, I know that the clutch will be a shit show. Why is that?
So again, every gene has the same problems. Jag has a neurological problem. The zebra is one that has a problem with the gene associated to that gene. Again, in other species like blood pythons have the exact same problem with the zebra gene, but they call it something else. I don't know if it has a name. I've heard it before, but they have the same problem. So the problem with zebra is when zebra is incomplete dominant. So when you have the normal is just normal, as soon as you have it on one allele, it changes. It's a pattern mutation. It makes the pattern extremely busy. All zebras are perfect. You have zero issues with a zebra. As soon as you get a double allele, so a homozygous zebra, which in the reptile world, we call that a super, which makes no sense and has no meaning in it. If you talk to geneticists,
Okay.
he'll laugh at you for it because it makes no sense. So a homozygous zebra or a super zebra, as soon as you put the two genes together, you get tail issues. So
Tail issues.
so what I mean by that is, number one, no tail is going to be perfect. And I say I have perfect tails. When I say I have perfect tails, it means that I have a tail that is nice and straight and looks like a real tail and functions like a tail. That being said, every single tail from a super zebra is shorter than any other tails. So if every time I compare a tail of a super zebra to a zebra or a normal, the tail is about 15, 20, 30% shorter. Okay? So that's the number one problem, but a straight normal tail with no kinks to me is a normal tail. It's just, it tapers off a little bit faster. You wouldn't notice.
Okay.
I know because I checked them, and I've been told that, and that's part of their problem, and it is true. That being said, that's it. That's their only problem. Okay, but a lot of them are born with kinks. So the tail kinks, the tail corkscrew, the tail. So it's all about tail problems. So I've produced many, many super zebras. I'd say my ratio is 1 out of 2 is a perfect tail. 1 out of 2 is kinks.
Okay.
Or something like that. And that's an animal I won't sell, and that's an animal I euthanize. Because as soon as they have kinks
You
or any
euthanize
problem,
them.
I don't think you should reproduce animals or sell animals that have
Yes.
deformities. Is that wrong? Is it ethical? Not really. It's also why I stopped breeding jags, because jags, to me, it's unethical to produce an animal for neurological defect. Now, kinks, if you get animals of big kinks, it's up to you. Some people will give them off to somebody else. Some people will euthanize. Some people will feed them off to other animals. I mean, that I'll leave it up to you. For me, if I produce an animal with a kink, I will euthanize it. I don't think it should be put out there. I don't even think as a pet, it's an animal that I don't want anybody to ever reproduce an animal that has a kink. And
For sure.
if it's produced by something else than that gene, what if even if a normal comes out with a kink, I'm euthanizing it? Because if that is a genetic problem that he can then pass on to offsprings, to me, that's just, we're doing a disservice to the hobby. So anyway, that going back, that's the problem with the super zebra. So when you breed super to super zebra, and I'm going to get 100% super zebras. When you breed a zebra to zebra, you should technically get 25% super zebras, but I always get about 12% super zebras. Because I'm pretty sure that the other 12% dies in the eggs, and those are the ones that don't come out. So breeding super zebras to super zebras, I will only get super zebras, and I'm assuming that I'm probably going to lose 25 to 40% of the eggs in incubation, and then I'll probably get a couple of kink tails in there, so I'm assuming it's going to be a disaster clutch. And there's a reason it's not done often. I've never done it. I've always wanted to do it. I have 2 adult super zebras, so I'm definitely going to try it. If it's a disaster clutch, it'll be the one time I do it, and I never do it again. And I'll be honest, I don't know anybody that's bred super zebra to super zebra. It's just not done. Just for some reason, nobody does it.
Okay.
So
But yeah, you give it. Yeah, absolutely. You never know what comes out. That's very fascinating.
I know what's going to come out, but but I'm still going to do it. I got to do it once.
100%. No, that makes sense. Dude, this is so fascinating. I think just the last 15 minutes of this conversation, I've come up with about 100 more questions. So I'm not going to hold you for 100 more questions, but if you'd be okay with coming back at some point, I would love to have you back on. I have so many more questions.
Fair. Just tell me when you've got a free night. I can find always 2 hours to chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, man. Can you let everyone know where they can find you and where they can find the Reptile Rejects podcast?
Yeah, of course. So me, Dominic Carbonneau, that's my name on Facebook. You can reach out to me. I answer fast, usually. On Instagram, Dom's Reptiles. I do have a website called domsreptiles.com. I suck at updating it. I haven't changed any pictures in about 5 years. You can see what my collection looked like 5 years ago. Very different. There are always animals available. It's not updated, but you've got my email, my contact information on there if you need to reach me. Reptile Rejects is our podcast. Started about 6 months ago. I do it with Michael Gillian. It's fun. It's half colubrids, half pythons. I'm a python guy. He's a colubrid guy, so it creates some kind of a nice mix. Go take a look. It's on YouTube and it's on all the platforms that Daffy's Roundtable will be on. Spotify, I don't know, Apple Podcasts, and all the other fun ones.
Google, all
there
of them.
You go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's on
and
there
all
too.
Those links will be in the description as well, so you can go check out all of them. And I will link the Justin Julander episode in there as well. So for anyone that's interested, because that's exactly where I'm going right now after this. Just so you all know.
Let me know if you like it after.
I will. And yeah, Dom, thank you very, very much for coming on, man. We have to grab also, like, other than podcasting, we have to grab a beer or a drink or whatever, or coffee at some point together since we're so close.
I'm down
anyway,
for sure.
Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, awesome. And we will chat very, very soon. And everyone else, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for having me on.